one of the pastors here at Midtown Vineyard Church. We're very glad to host this, as well as the coordinated effort meetings that we have once a month on the third Thursday each month. And we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Brock. So glad you guys are here.
All right, well, we're going to have a little energy tonight, so good evening. Good evening. That's what I'm talking about, Myrtle Beach, so we're excited to be here, right?
That's right.
That is right. All right, so we are here for the Night of Knowledge tonight, and that is exactly what we are going to get, is some knowledge tonight. So we are focusing tonight on youth service awareness. We are excited about that because we definitely need to know what our resources are to serve our youth. We always have challenges when working with different groups in our community, and we want to be able to serve our community very well. It doesn't matter what age group, doesn't matter who you are, but we have been talking at the coordinated effort. We've been hearing from our community members, and we want to make sure that we are listening and that we are providing that information. And in doing so, this was one of the topics that was at the top of the list, and I think I can get an amen on that, right?
Amen.
Absolutely. I will tell you that being a member of the coordinated effort is an exciting member to be because we are doing a lot of different things. We're learning a lot about what our service providers do in our community. We are learning a lot about the gaps in our community and what we need to address. And we are also trying our best to be able to work towards forward movement and action. And that's absolutely important for our community. Not just here right in front of us, but all throughout this area, and we want to be able to do that. And that's what this is being a part of tonight, is educating our community, making sure that we're trying to find out what we can do, how we can pass the word, and making sure that we're giving that information out. So without further ado, we are going to provide some introductions, and I think that's important because tonight you're going to have a great panel to hear some information from. We have done several nights of knowledge. If you've had the opportunity to be at a night of knowledge before, raise your hand. Anybody here today? That's great. That's exciting to see lots of hands go up. We've had a lot of different topics, but like I said, this is extremely important to hear what we are going to provide tonight. So we have a great lineup tonight, and I'm going to first have an opportunity to introduce your host. Mr. William Hauser is going to be your host tonight, your MC for the evening. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet William Hauser, he is born and raised here in Horry County, and he is currently the program director for New Directions of Horry County. In 2016, he became a peer support specialist while working at J. Reuben Long Jail Diversion Program. He was privileged enough, with the help of 4 others, to start the very first Heroin Anonymous meeting in Horry County. He was hired by New Directions in October of 2017 as a peer support specialist to do outreach combating opioid epidemic. In 2020, he became the program director of Addiction Recovery Outreach Team and was managed by New Directions for almost 9 years now. He has devoted his life to helping others and giving back to our community, which is awesome. And I know we're going to hear a lot about that tonight, is giving back. He is a person in long-term recovery since November of 2014. Let's give William Hauser, our MC tonight, a round of applause. I am going to ask our forum team members to come on up, our panelists to come on up as I call your name, and I'm going to provide some information about our panelists, which is pretty exciting, as I said. Our first panelist is Liberty Case. Liberty Case is MALPCA, is a national board certified counselor with the Center for Counseling and Wellness. If you don't know about the Center for Counseling and Wellness, you're going to hear about it tonight. It is a nonprofit agency with 4 offices in Horry County, and you're going to hear about those offices and what they do. Additionally, community partnerships enable Liberty to provide mental health support to students at Coastal High School and Myrtle Beach police officers in responding to mental health. So yes, I'm a huge fan, if you did not know that. To mental health related service calls on weekends, Liberty is pursuing doctoral coursework in community care and counseling with trauma focus from Liberty University. She was supervised by Bruce Lynch. So let's give Miss Liberty Case a round of applause.
next we have Miss Tanya Pickett. Thank you for joining us, Miss Tanya. She's currently serves as Director of Counseling Services for Horry County Schools. This work is especially rewarding for Tanya as she is native to Horry County and is honored and humbled to be able to serve the school district that provided her educational foundation. Tanya is a graduate of Conway High School. She earned her BA from Winthrop University, her Master's in Education School Counseling from the Citadel Master's in Education Leadership from Coastal Carolina University. Tanya has served as a school counselor in Georgetown and Horry County School Districts and has worked in the district leadership for the past 12 years. Her current work allows her to support all school guidance and clinical counselors in Horry County School District, ensure district compliance and initiatives to implement the McKinney-Vento and support homelessness children and youth, and support the CCU-HCS mentoring program partnership. Tanya has her husband, Michael, and have been married for 21 years and are the proud parents of one very special and amazing son, Miles. They reside in the Burgess community of Myrtle Beach and have been lifelong worshipers at Cherry Hill Missionary Baptist Church in Conway. She's proud and honored to serve the students and families in Horry County and glad to be asked to be a part of this evening's events. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, Tim Monday, Officer Tim Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Come on, I feel like I'm saying the price is right. I'm sorry, but come on down. Absolutely. Sorry about that. I'll lose that little twang in my voice too. Sorry about that. It's been a long day. Sorry about that. Okay. PFC Timothy Monday is a school resource officer, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that tonight, which is really exciting for us as a police department as well. Originally from a small town located in northwestern Pennsylvania, he graduated with an associate's degree in criminal justice in 2013 and began his career in law enforcement as a correction officer. In 2019, PFC Monday relocated to Myrtle Beach upon being hired by the Myrtle Beach Police Department and served primarily as in the patrol division. In 2021, Tim transferred to the school resource officer position under the department's investigations division and has assigned to the Myrtle Beach Middle School. PFC Monday has since successfully completed the school resource officer training as well as DARE instructor certification and is in the process of becoming certified to teach the This Is Not About Drugs program, committed to educating our community and youth about opioid addiction and overdoses. Thank you for being here, Tim. Congratulations. All right, Ms. Sheila Gritzik, come on down, please. Thank you for being here. All right, thank you for being here. Ms. Sheila Gritzik is with the foster care supervisor with the South Carolina Department of Social Services. She has been with the agency for over 20 years and began as a paralegal and moved to foster care case manager position. Sheila has been in the supervisory role for 11 years, and I want to personally thank her for coming because she had to fill in, and we certainly appreciate her being here and stepping up and taking that role. So thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Dr. Raymond Reiser, we thank you so much for being here, sir. He is a director of pediatrics of Little River Medical Center. Director Reiser joined LRMC in 2014 as a staff pediatrician and was appointed director of pediatrics in 2023. He is a graduate of the University of Alabama School of Medicine and completed his residency at the Children's Mercy Hospitals and Clinics in Kansas, Missouri. Is that correct? Kansas City, Missouri. I was like, okay, missed that, sorry. He has maintained his board certification in pediatrics since 2014 during his tenure with LRMC. Dr. Reiser has been the teen wellness lead, implemented universal HIV screening, surpassed the national average for LARC utilization, and developed integrated dental care policies in the pediatric department. Dr. Reiser participated in the One World Health Mission trip to Nicaragua in 2017 and continues to be an active volunteer in the community. He participated in South Carolina campaign to prevent teen pregnancy and served as the principal investigator. The campaign introduced a comprehensive reproductive health initiative at our clinical aimed at access and education. We ultimately achieved a sizable increase in HIV screening, reproductive health education, and LARC utilization, markedly exceeding national averages. Dr. Reiser has presented many poster and oral presentations addressing pediatric care. He is a regular speaker for the South Carolina AIDS Education and Training Centers. Let's give him a round of applause. And our last panelist today is Mary Cookie Canty Goings. Not our last, because I do not have that one with me. I'm so sorry. Come on up. Come on up, Cookie. Thank you so much. All right. As a native in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Cookie has graduated from Newport College with her BA in Psychology, Guidance, and Counseling, University of South Carolina Masters of Education, and South Carolina Department of Education Masters. Also has been employed with Horry County School District, where she retired from, Director of Guidance, Teacher Counselor, and then also retired and then took over to Director of Neighborhood Services. And then affiliations with multiple groups and associations, numerous recognitions for a variety of programs, as well as awards for Newberry College Alumni Association, Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce Champion of Diversity Award, Boys and Girls Club Champions for Youth. Let's give Miss Mary Cookie Canty Goings a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just sorry. I just brought one because really I missed them. Thank you. All right. Ms. Tara Rocket from Sea Haven, I'm so happy you are here, is an experienced professional in the realm of mental health and youth services, embarked on her journey in April 2023 as a crisis counselor at Sea Haven. Since then, she has made significant strides in her career, earning a lateral promotion to the esteemed position of transition coordinator at Youth Adult Services. With a passion for aiding youth, Tara's dedication to the cause has been evident from a young age, having worked with children since she was just 14. Her academic impressive as her professional achievement. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communications from Lander University, studies in nursing in Piedmont Technical College, showcasing her multifaceted approach to holistic care. Her relocation to Myrtle Beach in 2021, accompanied by her daughter and son, marked a pivotal moment in her life. It was her Lighthouse Behavioral Health that she initiated her career in mental health and overdose awareness, serving as a mental health tech on the detox floor, laying the foundation for her impactful journey in the field. Driven by genuine desire to make a difference in the lives of today's youth, she finds purpose and fulfillment in her role. She receives her work as not just a profession, but a calling, a chance to provide support, guidance, and hope to those navigating the turbulent waters of adolescence and young adult, while treating them with respect and dignity. Please, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. And let's give all of our panelists a round of applause. As we said, and we move forward, we are very excited about tonight, and I'm going to hand over our mic to our MC. All right.
Testing. No, thank you everyone for coming out here today. What I'd like to do, I know Chief Proc just did a really good job of introducing every single one of you personally and a little bit of information of your personal background. But what I would like, if you don't mind, is just, we'll start over here, and you'll go around and just tell a little bit about your agency and what it is your agency does and how it can help you in this area.
So I work for the nonprofit counseling agency, the Center for Counseling and Wellness. Our vision and our mission is to bring mental health care to those regardless of their ability to pay for it. We thrive on community partnerships. In my bio, we mentioned that I ride along with the Myrtle Beach Police Department on the weekends. That's funded from a generous grant from the Chapin Foundation, which we're grateful for. We have had a lot of placement in various organizations that are here today. New Directions, we have counselors housed in New Directions. At various schools, we have 4 different main offices where we do individual, family counseling or marriage counseling. We have one that's off of Homestown in Surfside. We have one, our main office is in North Myrtle Beach. We have one in Loris, and we also have one in Conway. We have upwards of, I think, about 30 master's level clinicians working with individuals in the community, bringing mental health care.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Pickett. I'm the Director of Counseling Services for Horry County School District. And so I represent a part of the district that works with all of our school guidance counselors, all of our clinical counselors in our schools, which is our RBHS program, Rehabilitative and Behavioral Health Services. I also work under the arm that works with McKinney-Vento, which is providing services to our homeless children and youth, and mentorship in our district. So my work is really to work with all of these folks to make sure that school counselors have all the resources at their fingertips to be able to help students. We expect students to come to school every day. We expect them to learn. We expect them to be able to gain the skills and the knowledge that they need to go out and be successful citizens. But many of them have barriers that keep that from being their priority. And so the work I do is to support counselors in schools to make sure that they're able to help students remove those barriers. And sometimes it means being able to reach out to people in this room. So that's why I think it's important that we're all here. And I'm Tanya Pickett.
Hey, I'm Officer Monday. I'm the school resource officer at Myrtle Beach Middle School. There are currently 4 SROs in the cluster. The only school that doesn't have a school resource officer yet is early childhood. My main priority, our main priority is supposed to be, reducing crime and all that different stuff, but my main priority is keeping our kids safe. We like to have a safe environment for the kids to come to school every day. I get to work closely with the counselors and all the administrators to address not only criminal matters, but just problems that children and families may have at home. I love making connections with the kids in the community. I have grown very close to a lot of families since I've been at the school. So I've been in the school since 2021. So I've now adopted like 2,000 kids in my life. So everywhere I go, even like I live outside the city and I see kids at Walmart, at 501 or whatever, they're like, oh, Officer Monday. So like, I love the connections I've made. I love helping kids out. It's truly a rewarding job, but your counselors do amazing. I had to tell you that your counselors do amazing. The administration is amazing. It's so cool. From my perspective, when I was younger, I didn't feel like I was recognized as a student. And now seeing it from the other aspect of these administrators, these counselors know all these kids by first and last name, know who they hang out with, know their hobbies, know their family, know their likes and dislikes, and how to calm them down in stressful situations. So I have the utmost respect for education. It's become my second passion. My first is, of course, policing, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
I'm Sheila Brissett. I'm a foster care supervisor. I would say probably we are the most hated next to the police officers because once we get the call saying they're going to EPC children, they do come into foster care. But while they're in foster care, we do provide services to help the family become a little more healthier. So when the children are returned back to the home, it is a healthier environment for them. There's parenting services that help our kids. But as kids become about 13, 14 years old, we're trying to introduce them to independent living skills. We do transitional services for children. Should they remain with us at the age of 18, then there are a lot of services there. We do help provide educational funding. We also help them with housing. There's a lot of programs that are available to them, but of course, most children at 18 are ready to get out of foster care. There are times we try to encourage them because we don't want to see them end up on the street and become homeless. So whatever services that we can provide to our youth, that is what our main goal is. It's not to disrupt families, but it is to make families stronger. And so every resource that we can provide to our families is just for the strengthening of the families.
Dr. Reiser with Little River Medical Center. We're a nonprofit community health center. Being up here today is exciting because we work with every one of these people here, whether it's kids at Sea Haven or if it's my son. I've seen you at the drop-off line before. That patients referred to the Wellness Center, and I'm buddies with Phil Harper, the RBHS program, does a great job with their kids. Some of the foster children, come in for their 30-hour physicals or, the placement physicals. It's a team, you know, and what our center does is we're a health clinic that offers physical health services. We have dental care. We have a system so that we take all forms of insurance plus an affordable sliding fee system for those who can't pay or can't pay typical prices. We have behavioral health services that Tanya leads, extensive HIV program for both prevention and treatment. We have, just a huge variety of things. Some of what we do on the youth side include medical services, things like asthma management, wellness checks, nutritional support. We may do things like our Parents and Teachers program, which really helps to enable parents, especially young or new parents, be at their best, you know, navigate the challenges of parenthood. And we've got a Reach Out and Read program, promoting literacy, just a whole variety of services. We do work with a lot of community partners for things, whether it is hearing assessments or if it is social services to assist with issues of neglect or concerns for abuse, just a whole variety of things. And so that's what we do. And we also, again, link people with resources, whether it's housing, food insecurity issues, transportation. There's a lot that exists, but oftentimes, again, which is why it's nice being up here, is a lot of times you just don't know what's out there. And so you find yourself struggling alone, when in truth, in the right hands, you can kind of get linked into something that can really change your life in a good way.
Hey everybody, I am Cookie Goings. I am a retired educator, teacher of English, school counselor, and the director of guidance at my alma mater, Myrtle Beach High School, and I won't tell you what year I graduated. And Tim, you say you see the students everywhere. You just wait till you start seeing their kids, so they become your grand students. So I served as an educator with Horry County Schools for 33 years. I retired Monday night, July 31st at 8:03 p.m. and started the next morning, Tuesday, August 1st at 11 o'clock with the City of Myrtle Beach as Director of Neighborhood Services. One of the things that has always driven my life's work is that I realize that I am not a professional or didn't identify myself as an educator, but it took a life experience, a very humbling experience, to help me realize that I am simply a servant, and I have always been a servant, and that is my life's work. And one of the things that became especially important to me was in the mid-1990s. Y'all probably won't even born then, some of y'all, but anyway, okay. But in the mid-1990s at Myrtle Beach High School, when we identified our first homeless student, which we later realized, understand they are McKinney-Vento and that subgroup of unaccompanied youth. And it was always, as it was assigned to me, a spiritual assignment to provide for those students. And so my role here tonight is twofold. It's the first one I'll briefly tell you about. We founded Hope House of Myrtle Beach in 2009. Make a long story short, in 2000, after I retired, things shifted a little bit. So in 2019, Nana's Hope House Incorporated was born. Nana was my mother, who transitioned in 2015. And so Nana's Hope House provides things that some of us or our kids, took for granted or take for granted. Simple things like the opportunity to order a yearbook, or they need caps and gowns, or they have, fees that they can't pay for, or some of them have never left Horry County, and so to go on the senior trip to Disney World, housing, clothing at Christmas time or whenever. That is Nana's Hope House. And so I invite you to our website and then our Facebook page. And that is what we do. We provide services for our graduating unaccompanied youth, and not just Myrtle Beach, it's now Horry County Schools 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I am very, very honored to continue on that path of service for our students, even to the point of now we're in the last phases of finishing some renovations that will provide emergency and temporary shelter for those group of students, unaccompanied youth. And then my new job is Director of Neighborhood Services with the City of Myrtle Beach. And so when I announced at graduation in 2017 that I was leaving, I had to figure out a way, even for myself, to explain it to my rising seniors and their parents where I was going. So I'm right up the street, and my lay term explanation or definition is I am the guidance counselor and the social worker for the City of Myrtle Beach, and we serve as the liaisons for the mayor, council, management, and all of us who serve and work with the City of Myrtle Beach.
I'm Tara Rocket, and I work with Sea Haven. We have 2 facilities. Our first one is in Little River, where we work with youth that are 12 to 17. They may come to us as youth from with DSS, where we work with, or DJJ, and some of them are also runaways within Horry County and all over the state. We work with them and do life skills, and I basically tell them they're my kids. During the day, if I have them as a crisis counselor, you're mine. I'm gonna treat you just like you're my kids at home. So we take them to the beach, and we try to just teach them, just lead by example. And then I had the opportunity to go to Young Adult Services this past November, where we work with the young adults, 18 to 24. So just basically the same thing. We just let them know that we're still there for them. We don't house them at Young Adults, but we still continue services in the domains of employment, education, life skills again, health and safety, and then we assist with housing. So basically anything we can help to transition into adults, we do.
Little technical difficulties. All right. So the first question that I have, now that everybody's introduced themselves and given a brief rundown of your agencies and what they do, is geared towards the school district. And Officer Monday, you can jump in on this as well. But I just want to make sure that everybody in the audience knows that have children or children in the school system, if a child is experiencing a problem in school, what steps should they take and what should it look like?
So when a child's in distress or they're having problems, they made a new system where they have an online recording. It's called See Something, Say Something. So they see something suspicious or whatever, they don't feel safe, they can just log on their laptops. Every kid has a laptop available to them in the school, and report it anonymously. They can leave their name if they want to. That covers everything, up to, someone smoking in the bathroom, to I heard a threat that someone was saying. If they don't feel well themselves, or if they're having suicidal thoughts, they're allowed to put in the See Something, Say Something, and goes straight to the district, and then it gets pushed back out to the appropriate person. They also have a bullying form that they can report anonymously that they're being bullied or someone's being bullied. I know as far as our school, our counselors are always there. Our RBHS counselors, our behavioral counselors are always there. Admin's always there. I always make myself available. I can tell you every person in the school, teachers, counselors, admin, even, the parents, they always make themselves available to kids. My office is always open. Dr. Christie, the principal, always makes her office open as well. And we want to we strive every day to make these kids feel comfortable to come talk to us. And 90% of my cases of either child neglect or something like that is happening at home comes from a student who is finally able to speak up and advocate for themselves and tell an adult, which is great.
Relationships are so important. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is to help your children pick out trusted adults in their schools. The devices and all the apps that we have in place to help students report things are wonderful. They are great, but there is no replacement for the relationship of another human being. And so trusted adults in our school are so important. We're encouraging folks to take an interest in students who may not necessarily be in their classrooms, who may not necessarily be the person that they teach. And it's everybody. It takes that village to build those relationships and to build that trust. And so the one thing I would suggest to parents that they do is encourage their students to develop relationships with their teachers, with their counselors, with the people who serve in the cafeteria, with their bus drivers, with everybody, their coaches, because you never know who that student is going to bond that relationship with and feel comfortable really telling that they're in trouble and that they need help. So I would encourage them. And we've done some things in schools like advisory programs and club days and those kinds of things to help students get that relationship, that non-academic outside of the classroom relationship, because that is so important in making kids feel safe and comfortable in our buildings.
Do you have anything you'd like to add, Cookie? I know you have quite an extensive.
Quite an extent.
trying to say?
Cookie, you're always one of us.
I do, and I often say, I am forever an educator. I will always be an educator. But one of the things that both of you kind of alluded to is that at the beginning of freshman orientation, I always would encourage students to, everybody in this building, every student in this building should have an adult to whom you can go if there is anything you need to share, and not always the negative stuff. You know, we're there for that, but I always encourage every student in that building to have an adult to whom they could go and share and confide in. But also, over the years, I realized that every adult in the building needed somebody. And so as we're up here kind of discussing, as they're talking, everything is about relationships. Everything is about relationships, and sometimes it's the ones that we don't always expect or think, you know, may do something, may do something really well or need the encouragement. Many times it's those who are silent and kind of have that unassuming role that we probably need to reach out to more. So yes, everything is about relationships and always has been.
One thing I would like to add is that if you are a parent of a student, I would also encourage you to build some relationships with your students' school. Cookie just made a great point. We get so overwhelmed with the number of students that we serve and the number of families that we serve that sometimes the only time you hear from us is when there's something negative. But I'm going to encourage you as parents and as community members, reach out to us as well. The first thing that does is that sets the example for your child that you can trust us. That sets the example for your student that we're all on the same team. The other thing it gives you a contact person or somebody that you can call on when you're in trouble. Sometimes, as Ms. Sheila mentioned earlier, families struggle. The entire family needs help. And if you have that contact person at that school, that may not be the person that you need to talk to, but they can help you get in contact with who you need to find the service that you need or the resource that you need for your student.
Just to add something, I'm not at Horry County Schools, but I do spend a couple of days a week at a charter high school, providing mental health support and psychoeducation. And a good chunk of the time is spent reaching out to family, because maybe the student was too scared to bring something up to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, but they felt more comfortable coming and talking to a counselor at the school so that we could bridge that gap. And then I've often had parents come into my office and provide resources. Okay, here's what we are looking at now. Let's get you in with a physician. Let's look at different options that are available. And it can be a very great resource. So it goes both ways. We can reach out to families, but they can also reach out to us at the school and provide, and we can be a touch point for information and pathways on like, how do I help my student?
no, I got one. No, that's fantastic, and I'm glad you grabbed the microphone, because it kind of leads into the next area that I was gonna go in, and that's gonna be more towards Tara and yourself with the counseling service and with Sea Haven services. What does a person need to do to receive services from those specific agencies? I didn't want to ask that to the school district because, or the school system, because they're in the schools, but the external agencies that are more outpatient type services, what do the children need to do, or parents need to do to get their children involved?
So one of the beautiful things is we have a wonderful administrative staff that they can just call or obtain that information from our website. We have a great supportive staff. We accept a lot of different insurances. We accept Medicaid. We accept on a sliding scale, and we often work with counselors who are training and can provide services at very, very low cost if need be. So the first step would just be calling our office or, checking out our website. And we can direct you from that point.
It would be the same with us. At Sea Haven, you can call us, and usually at the crisis center, the counselors will answer the phone, and we can do an interview over the phone just to kind of see what's going on with you and your child at home, or if it is a behavioral issue at the house, or we also work with DSS, and you can come in and we talk with you and we talk with your child to see what it is that you need help with, and what can we do with you and your child or children to help you in the home. We work with you and do counseling sessions together and then separately, so that you have better communication with one another. And then with young adults, you can come in and we can do an intake. Basically, it's an intake process. You just give us a call and we talk and see what it is, what needs you have, and how we can meet those needs for you.
So I want to get Dr. Reiser and thrown up here.
I was glad you say something. So I can't speak for the mental health, but if you need to see your doctor or something where you need to speak to your physician, maybe you saw a counselor who suggested it, or you just feel like you've got a good relationship with that individual and you want some direction, I encourage you to make an appointment. But if that appointment's put out a ways, because most of us are booked out quite a bit, tell the scheduler, this is urgent. Please let him know that it's urgent. Because when you say something like that, oftentimes we don't know what our schedule looks like 5 days or several months from now. We'll look at that, and every doctor I know will get a kid in that day or the next day if it's something that's important to them, okay? And most of us will definitely prioritize things like a mental health crisis, essential health situation, things like, we know what's urgent and what's not. If an individual's got a high fever or testicular pain, we're not going to say come back in 2 days. They fell and hurt themselves. We're going to see it now or refer you to the ER if we can't get you in. But I do want to make sure people know not to just get put off by schedule. You even want to make referrals. I've had a kid, concerned about a disorder called coarctation of the aorta, and that infant had to get seen within a week. And I spoke to the cardiologist, and he's like, yes, I'll take him. And he got scheduled for 6 weeks later. And I called them again and said, Dr. Steplick wants to see this kid within 5 days. It's because, again, the schedulers don't always understand the urgency of the situation. So I just, as a parent or whomever, you have that right and that ability to say, please make sure they know what's going on.
So the next question that's on here, this is a very broad question. So I'm just going to ask you to pass the mic to your right, and then we can make our way around. So the question that was brought up is, what is developmentally appropriate for our youth?
That's an extremely broad question. I'm going to take that to mean the type of content that one experiences or how information is presented to a child that's appropriate for where that kid is on a maturity spectrum. We're not talking about physical in the situation. We're talking about usually developmental, psychological. And so you may have kids that are very different from their life experiences to their maturity level. And so you may need to tailor that message. I have I had a 21-year-old patient I saw today that operates on about a 12-year-old's level, so that's a very different way that I talk to that young man about his sexual health, despite the fact that he's a young adult who's sexually active, right? Something that wouldn't be appropriate for a younger child, but for his age it is. But how do you have the conversation, And so it's just a matter of tailoring your message to the kid in a way that they can best understand, and being cautious not to present information, something that's excessively terrifying, or that might promote ideas that aren't really safe and healthy. That's how I'm gonna take that question there.
Well, anyway, because we deal with children from 1 day old up until the time they're 21, and we have probably about 21 caseworkers in foster care, we just have to be sensitive to the children, because every one of our children, or I would say the vast majority of our children, are coming from a traumatic situation. So we have to listen, we have to observe, we have to check our body languages. We do make some referrals to the forensic center. So because oftentimes our children are coached by parents. We're not saying they're bad parents, but children are coached. And we may send someone to the forensic center, and you can tell from the body language, did daddy coerce them? Did mom coerce them? We just have to be very, very sensitive and listen and observe. And oftentimes when we are able to put siblings together, if the foster parent is a good placement, they're going to be able to check some of the behaviors that's going on and contact us so that we can make the appropriate referrals for these children.
I'd like to piggyback off of both y'all. One thing that I've seen when I first started in school, I used to talk to the kids like they're kids, not knowing that some of these children have seen or endured a lot of bad stuff. I just had an experience a couple weeks ago where a couple kids came in and told me their life story, and I took it home with me and it broke my heart. I broke down to my family at home. I said, these kids are breaking my heart, man. But I talked to them in a real world sense. I talked to them in a positive attitude, but I also talked to them like they're growing adults. I always try to lead them in the right direction, but I don't sugarcoat things a lot of times for them. I tell them the consequences of what happens if they go down a certain path. But I try to steer them and parents away from what they see in social media or media, because that's not the real world. Unfortunately, a lot of our kids today are being raised by tablets and iPhones, all this different stuff, and they see this elaborate lifestyle that's led by gang and drug activity, and I hate it. And I hate it for them. I hate the music they listen to because it idolizes these people. And I would really like to go back to the days where they idolized doctors and teachers and police officers. So I try to instill that in them as much as possible and see the wonderful life that we live too. So.
Well, in schools, the name of the game is meeting kids where they are. And that's just a part of the work that we do. We have to be able to see the beauty, have to be flexible enough and be open enough to reach them all and meet them all and meet all families. Be able to give them what they need.
Them is separation from their caretakers or their guardians. And this is a good thing. As a child, you're reliant on them for everything. And then you have to go into adulthood and be responsible for yourself, ideally. So there's this phase of life during high school particularly, where that's a very key developmental task is our guardian or caretaker wondering what's going on, why we feel disconnected or removed from our child. That's biologically wired and it serves a purpose. And from a developmental standpoint, that's what's going on. They're wired to do that. Another key developmental task at this age is to develop intimacy in pure relationships. Their friends become more important. So making sure that there are around sources that you are aligned with family values would be a good thing, right? Or trusted adults or others, right? So being aware of that natural tendency to want to separate from caretakers and to be among peers, that's developmentally very appropriate and normal, biologically wired for that. A third key developmental task is figuring out who they are, their identities. From one day to the next, it could be completely different, right? They're trying it on like they're trying on an outfit. So if we can be supportive in that journey, you know, our reaction to what's going on is going to be a lot more important than what they're doing from day to day. They're going to take cues from our response. If we overreact to some experimentation or something they're doing, they're going to close off, they're going to build a wall. And they've already are kind of innately in that camp biologically, right? So if we overreact as a guardian or a caretaker, we might be setting ourselves up for some problems. I feel like I spend a lot of time educating families to this dynamic that occurs, but just being aware of what developmentally is going on within their brain and why it's going on can be very, very helpful as issues come up that might be abnormal, that might be something that needs to be addressed on a professional level.
Just, I mean, like meeting them at their level or where they are. The one thing I just like to do is just talk to them. I mean, just always talk, you know, just about anything and everything. You know, listen to what they have to say and understand that they're all unique and everyone is different. Everyone develops differently. That doesn't make anybody any less different than anyone else. So just working with them and just listening to them and watching their cues and just being involved. Like, just as a parent also, you know, just talking to my child every day and knowing what's going on and just seeing the cues to say, okay, well, this is a different behavior than yesterday. Why? What happened? And just being involved and just always listening, active listening. As you can tell, I was a communication major, so I'm really big on you guys said relationships, and I'm like, communication too. So, but just always talk to them, listen to them, and let them know that you're listening. Because sometimes we don't actually listen, and we should.
I think everybody is kind of, or what we've said thus far can be summarized as that we have to see each of our young people as individuals. But I've learned many, many, many wonderful lessons. But one of the greatest was sometimes there were 16, 17, and 18-year-olds in our building who at that age had already had life experiences that even I had not. They had been forced to become adults. My first day on the job at Myrtle Beach High School in June of 1987, I met a student who 2 years later would become, unofficially, she had to come live with us. She was already working 30 hours a week and attending Myrtle Beach High School, but made the honor roll every time, graduated, earned 2 degrees, and has retired from banking. She was already grown, working full-time, going to school, but doing well because she was forced in that situation. So I think I said it earlier, we have to be careful and to look and see them as individuals, but the communication and the relationships is understanding and learning their stories and learning them enough to truly care and identify with who they are. Because where they are at that point isn't where they're gonna stay.
To piggyback off of that a little bit, what is the most prevalent concern or areas of need in our community that you see from your perspective and what you do?
I guess I got the mic, so I'll start. Okay. So, as director of neighborhood services, I see. I've just transferred to a different ministry station from school halls to city hall. But what I have come to learn, like in schools, we're pretty much right there, kind of on top of it. We can address things right there. And if I know there's a situation, then I can call Tanya or whomever and get some direction and get the resources that are available. But I have learned so much. What I see as the greatest needs are housing and mental health services.
She agrees. From my perspective, kind of acute, high-level mental health care services for youth is the largest unmet need that I see. We have kids that come in crisis, and there are parents that aren't able to safely handle them, and there's no place to put them. There's no place to send them. They can board at an emergency department for days on end and not receive any therapeutic care. They can be scarred sometimes from that experience and no longer want to disclose when they're having thoughts of self-harm or when things are bad, or parents that say, I need to do something, but I'm not going to go back to that facility because some of our facilities maybe don't operate the best way. You sit there in clinic sometimes and you call, 3, 4 places in our state, and you're trying to find a bed for a patient who badly needs it, and there's not one. That's a really hard situation to be in. It's my understanding that there may be a project in the works that's going to significantly address this over the next 2 or 3 years, and I hope that's the case. But for right now, it's a tough spot.
I wish that I could say something different, but we have 4-year-olds that are coming in with some behavior issues, probably some of it's mental health issues, and we are, of course, mandated to get mental health for some of our youth, and there are not enough providers for us to address the needs of our 4, our 5, and our 6-year-olds. Oftentimes, it's a struggle even getting our teenagers there. And also for us is housing, because 9 times out of 10, our requirement for parents to get their children back is housing. And most of us know that housing costs are astronomical. Even when we look at some of our parents who are not making the mega bucks, and you say, well, we need to find housing. Would they go look at a single wide mobile home, which is now running them $1,000 a month? Our clients can't afford that. So there are limited housing opportunities for our clients who we're just badly trying to put them back together as a family, but we don't have the resources to do that and to meet their needs.
I think everyone that already spoke kind of hit the nail on the head the most. The things that I see the most are housing, homelessness. I have a lot of students and families that are literally living day to day at a hotel. They're taking the daily rates, trying to scrape up enough to get by. The parents doing their best. I mean, a daily rate at a hotel is $100 sometimes, something like that. That's what you make in a day. I mean, less than that, making minimum wage. It's just working in a hotel down here. So they come to me, ask me for help, and there's resources, but the resources are, they're going to so many people. A lot of people come down here thinking, hey, I'm getting new life, like we're gonna live by the beach. We got a nice little condo by the beach for the winter, and then when the summertime comes, the condo's not available anymore, and now they're trying to go from hotel to hotel. It's heartbreaking. And there's options, but there's not enough options. And there will never be enough options. It's us trying to fill a cup that has a big leak in the bottom of it. I always tell people that's the one thing I wish we could have enough housing for all of our students. Nuclear families have gone away. There's not mom and dad at home anymore. It's a lot of single parent homes or single grandparent homes where the grandparents and the parents are working 2 jobs just to get by. So I see a lot of problems with our students not having direction at home because parents literally can't be home or else they won't be able to eat or have shelter. So not their fault at all. But and then lastly, mental health. I have a lot of mental health crisis and suicide calls at my school. I think that's, again, the overall problem at home and not having direction and always going from one hotel to the next. And, and again, the media, these kids see the media and they idolize wrong things. And the mental health services is rough. I have to say, if you're having suicidal thoughts, you go into mental health evaluation, but where do we go from there? They don't always get the answers they're looking for, and we're right back in the same spot a couple minutes later. So mental health services, I guess, would be my number one overall, though. I really want to see that improve in the state. Great.
Everything everybody said is completely on point. I think mental health services are big, and I got to toot the horn of Horry County Schools a little bit. I think we're trying to do some things in our school district to be a little bit more proactive than reactive. You're absolutely right, Dr. Reiser, in terms of trying to place a student in a facility, can't find a bed. I'm gonna go even one step further and just trying to find a therapeutic clinician and that a student can get an appointment with in a reasonable amount of time. And so lots of times we have to try to help facilitate the families obtaining those resources. And so we do what we can in our schools with our RBHS program, which is wonderful. We are, every school is being served by RBHS now, and we serve as many students as we can. We try to triage students, and we try to make sure that we get the students who need it most in our building in. And that could be they need it most because of they live in poverty, or they don't have transportation, or all those other things. The other thing that we have done that I think has been a really proactive measure as opposed to being reactive is partnering with a care coordination company called Care Solace. Have y'all heard of Care Solace? Some of you who are clinicians in here are vetted clinicians through Care Solace. So Care Solace actually calls you to try to help coordinate care for some of our students. And that allows us to be able to serve lots of students at one time and make sure that they're getting the things that they need. Y'all, this is a very different world than it was even 2 years ago. Students and families are struggling. Lots of people haven't recovered financially from the pandemic. Folks have not recovered emotionally from the trauma of the pandemic. They lost family members that we weren't able to grieve and even resolve those processes in the way that we have been culturalized and normalized to resolve our grief. And so students are still reeling from that. Families are still reeling from that. We're going to be doing that for several years. The other big problem that I see with students is beginning level substance abuse. That is, and it's probably tied to their mental health concerns, but the availability of stuff that kids can get their hands on now that is not being monitored, and we have no idea what it's going to do to their bodies. We have no idea how it's going to affect their brains. It is really, really scary. And substance abuse is one of those things that it's been happening outside of our buildings for a long time. We can't go home with kids every day and figure out what they're doing. But it's been happening outside of our buildings for a long time. It's been happening with families, with parents, for a long time. But I think it's hitting us in the face. I think we're seeing, because kids have the accessibility and the availability to get their hands on things that they could not get their hands on before because of regulation concerns or lack of regulation concerns. And I'm really, really concerned at the overall effects it's going to have, not just on student learning, but on their physical well-being.
So Tanya, can you elaborate? Because I understand what you're talking about. I don't know if everybody understands, because a lot of times when people think about substances, they're still thinking about illicit substances. Methamphetamine, cocaine.
I think kids can walk, it's amazing the number of smoke shops and vape shops, and they're on every corner. They're on every corner. And my son and my husband make fun of me all the time because I am a fruity candy, chewy candy junkie. You give me some gummy bears and I'm good. But this stuff looks exactly like the candies that these kids can purchase in a gas station. And so it's like the chicken and the egg, which came first? Are they struggling with their mental health, and that leads them to these substances, or do they start these substances and that leads them to mental health concerns and physical issues? I don't know, but I know it is a big problem. It's very difficult for us to get a handle on as counselors. It's very difficult for us to get a handle on even as parents. That's one of the biggest problems I'm seeing right now.
So collectively as a group, we've spoken about a lot of key things. And I just, to add to that, I think one of the things that is the biggest need is early intervention and skill building, resiliency building, coping skills, because we do see a lot of students in particular in the schools turning to substances to help them cope with what's going on in their lives and in home and social media and bullying and all of the things. And so they're turning to that because they don't have the coping mechanism. And it helps them feel better immediately, but it causes long-term problems. So helping to provide an atmosphere where they can develop those skills by providing, resiliency building, coping skills, those kinds of things, I see that as a really crucial immediate need, because we're going to continue to have treating crisis after crisis after crisis if we don't help strengthen our students and our youth.
And just teaching students to be smart very, very early. Having conversations with your children about the fact this is not the type of world that you can take candy, gum, cookies, brownies, Rice Krispie treats. You can't take those things from your friends now like you used to. And just having those really, really proactive conversations with students to educate your children very, very early. They can walk into, it's like every restaurant or every business that goes out of business, whether it's a gas station or a restaurant, when it comes back, it's a bake shop. They're all over. And so just being proactive and having those conversations with your children, they're not easy conversations to have, but I think they are necessary.
I just want to add one more thing real quick. As far as mental health is concerned, there's obviously a huge need to address that. I mean, if we look at the statistics of it, I think I was looking recently, Department of Health and Human Services indicated nearly half of adolescents will at one point or another in their lifetime, it's only up to 18 here that we're talking about, will have had something that could have met the diagnostic criteria for a mental health disorder, right? And we have, I think, upwards of about 1 in 3, especially post-COVID, experiencing and meeting the diagnostic criteria for an anxiety-related disorder. So to give you an idea of kind of the depth of what's going on in the mental health, now we could probably debate for a long time about what the cause of that is, but just knowing that that is the prevalence, and we're also seeing an uptick of substance use, it's interesting.
So just out of curiosity, and since we're speaking about behavioral health and mental health and substance use and all of that, do you typically see more of the youth that receive your services through counseling that have used substances, that haven't used substances, just to be on the lookout?
I see a lot. I don't know that I could put a percentage on it, but it's quite often. It's probably would surprise, because I don't necessarily, there's a level of confidentiality, so I don't rat them out to parents, right? So they'll share things with me that maybe they wouldn't share with caretakers or guardians, and caretaker or guardian may not be entirely aware of the vaping on the side or what's going on until they get caught in the school bathroom or whatever.
And I think what has happened with this phenomenon is it has become normalized. People are looking at it like, oh, they're just vaping, or oh, they just are consuming some edibles, or they just, it's not, nobody's surprised about it anymore. It has become normal behavior for students. And it is starting to roll down in terms of the ages of students that are able to get their hands on those things. And so we just have to be really, really careful. And we got to start having conversations about it before it becomes a discipline issue in our schools. In our schools, we don't go around, looking for those things. We pay attention to our students, but we can't shake them down and check all their parts every day and make sure that they aren't smuggling it. But we have to start having conversations with students and parents before it comes to the forefront, so they'll know exactly how dangerous those things are.
And I was going to ask, I would like you, if you could share some medical side effects or things that you see working with kids medically.
Death.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I wanted to say was when we look at edibles, for instance, I was in Seattle recently, and it surprised me how casual people are with marijuana products. A bunch of professionals around, nearly everybody is using something, and that was different from when I grew up in Seattle, where we do have a large substance abuse problem in the city, but it was nowhere near as extensive as it is currently. Edibles are not safe for kids. Edibles kill little kids. I had a child admitted to the ICU for respiratory failure because she got either accidentally a hold of an edible or possibly someone may have given it to her to calm down during a road trip. But it was really sad. And when I was looking at the package and I began looking at these things, they are packaged, stored, and marketed just like candy. If you put it in something that looks like a gummy bear, a child's going to grab it and eat it. The problem with it is twofold. One is that children digest things more slowly, and so they consume it, and you get this delayed effect. And two is their smaller body mass tends to have a more profound and less predictable effect. In fact, you'll hear sometimes adults will talk about it had a slower effect on me, and so I took more than I realized I needed, and I felt really awful and drowsy or stomachache. Okay, that's fine. Too bad for you. But for these kids, it can kill them. And so if you have access to, or if you know somebody with, proper storage is incredibly important. They're not a game, they're not a toy. Our country should regulate it more aggressively, but we don't currently. So that's my take on edibles. Things like vape, vape products have been targeted towards youth, and there was a federal motion against that. I think Jules got hit pretty hard for that. Flavorings, colors, you're seeing it all over the racing scene. They made it look as cool as they made Cools and Marlboro look when I was a kid, and I saw that in every ESPN magazine. In fact, we used to actually look for that guy because he looked really neat. When we had his kids, we were like, oh man, look at this one, look at that picture. This is a guy, this macho man that we looked up to. But anyhow, these kids that get on this, and you do it for fun, and you do it for whatever reason, and then you find yourself addicted to it. I talk to these teens who are 15 to 17, and they say, I hit my pen all the time now. And that's what's the problem with an addiction is it's no longer fun. It's no longer doing something for you. It's how you're able to maintain a sense of normalcy. That's wrong. That's awful. And that's not what you expect when you pick this thing up that everybody's doing. Additionally, there's vaping associated with lung injury. It can be very serious to the point where people have died from it, hospitalized. It can also be more moderately serious to where you've got individuals no longer able to play their sports in the clinic, huffing and puffing and wheezing and having a hard time getting air. Not quite sick enough to be hospitalized. I've seen that more often, but sick enough to where they're on steroids and ill and seeking ear help. Although unfortunately, again, with the addictive nature of it, you find these kids back a month to several months later having similar problems. So it can be difficult to break a nicotine addiction and things like that. As for the question you had earlier about comorbid conditions, substance use and coexisting, anxiety, mood disorders, etc., I actually see that quite often. When it comes to very casual and frequent drug usage, that's kind of across the board. But when I have frequent users of marijuana and other products, but marijuana is the one that we discuss come across most often. Almost, I would say about 70% of my patients that use it several times a week have coexisting anxiety or depression, especially my kids that use it multiple times a day. They almost all do. And what they'll say is this helps with my anxiety. And you ask them how long you've been smoking this, I've spoken for a year or for 2 years. When you look at the usage pattern from monthly to weekly to several times a day, and you say, your anxiety is no better than it was 2 years ago. While you're high, you don't feel uneasy, but you can't stay in a state of intoxication, and they know that, and I've talked to Tanya about patients of mine, in the ER over and over and over again with abdominal pain. So that's one of the medical complications of marijuana is this this abdominal syndrome that these individuals get. And the hard part is that they don't recognize the association. And so when they're too sick to smoke, they may, they'll present to the hospital with fluids and whatever, and they may cut down for a little bit, but they're right back at it. I had a patient, this was back in Kansas City, maybe 17 years old, really successful athlete, planning on a football scholarship. He hospitalized about twice, lost maybe 50 pounds, and finally on a second admission, we convinced him, just give it a break. Give it a break for 2 months. If you do fine, we will never again talk to you about your marijuana habit. Okay, because there's not a test for it. We can't test. Of course, he has marijuana in the system every time it presents, but so do a lot of people, right? So was that causative? So anyhow, we got him off of it for, it was about a month. That's all it took. He came back and he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, I'm not having all these abdominal issues and I'm back to my normal life. And, he rebuilt and he did not play college sports. He probably would have had he not taken such a serious hit, but he did get his life back. And that was important. And denial is a common component of it, and so, yeah, there's a variety of complications, cocaine and myocardial infarction. That's a real common one. You hear about a young person that had a heart attack. That's not the only reason why someone can have a heart attack at the age of 19 or 25, but quite often that or something similar was consumed prior to the occurrence. So there's a variety of things, but it's an unfortunate thing for sure.
You were talking about the coping skills. I think that's something that's really important is taking the negative coping skills, which is the substance abuse, and teaching them positive ways to do it. And then that you don't have to have a substance. You can replace that with something that's positive. And I think that's one of the things we at Sea Haven that we definitely do is to work with the youth so that they develop a positive coping skill and stop doing the negative. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight, but if we, educate them and show them that, hey, this works too, and it's a lot better for you, and then they see, as role models and you lead by example, I think that's, it helps a lot.
So I have a question for the fostering system because we were talking a lot about substance use and the negative consequences from substance use, and it made me think, if and you may know this as a fact off the top of your head, but what would be the leading cause to kids ending up in the foster system?
Most of our cases are physical neglect. People just don't have housing. They can't provide the basic needs. We got a kid in last night due to, as he stated, they couldn't pay the hotel bill. So he was found at a service station. So now he's in care. Of course, he's upset. He's like, if I have to be here, I'm going to commit suicide. So we have to deal with that. But most of our kids will be physical neglect.
Now, I want to leave time for the audience to ask you all questions as well. So I want to wrap my questions up with, if someone wanted to get involved with you all to help, what could they do or what do they need to do?
Well, for our agency, you can contact David Coburn, our deputy director, or you can contact me and I'm at 843-366-1504. And I can always connect you to the correct party. As far as helping us, we always have needs for basic supplies. For a moment there, even though most of our children do get WIC, we did struggle after COVID because of formula shortage. Oftentimes our children come into care, they don't have the basic needs, they don't have their clothing because they're being taken out of their home quickly. And a parent is angry with us, and if we say, can we have their clothing, can we have whatever, they don't have it. A lot of our kids coming in, they're missing their, someone may have been attached to a teddy bear, they may have been attached to something that's familiar, and suddenly they're put into a home that they don't know anybody, nothing is familiar about that home. And so it's just the simple, basic things that most of our children need.
Do you have enough foster families?
No, ma'am. So heartfeltcalling.org is how you begin the process of becoming a foster home. We would love to see more children in Horry County, placed in Horry County. I have one caseworker now where the home is placed 20 minutes outside of Georgia. And it makes it difficult for us to conduct the necessary parent-child visits, the sibling visits, So if we had more local homes, it would help tremendously. It does.
Well, if you want to get involved with our department, just call 911. I'm kidding. Honestly, of course, without the community, we wouldn't be here doing what we do. Tips, suggestions always help our police department. On the school side, there's school improvement council. There is the PTO. Honestly, any level of parent involvement is amazing. I love when parents show up for stuff. I love when parents email me or call me suggesting different things, saying, hey, I think this is unsafe at school, or hey, this might be great for the students, or this might be a great program. We always have our programs like Shop with the Hero and Cops and Bobbers and stuff, the police department too, that we get a lot of donations from the community. So all those different ways, and like I said, if you all ever need to talk to me, I'm always in middle school Monday through Friday, 180 days a year. And I'm at the police department in the summertime, so reach out and ask to talk to Officer Monday.
And I represent guidance and counseling services for the district, but I'm gonna encourage you that if you ever wanna get involved with any of our schools, reach out to your school administrator, reach out to your children's teachers. There's always an opportunity for parents to be volunteers. There's always an opportunity for you to be a part of your child's education and anything that we do in school. So I'm going to encourage you to always feel comfortable reaching out to your school administrators or your child's teacher or the school counselor in your child's building. We welcome that involvement. But if you ever have any questions about district initiatives, throughout this district in terms of counseling services, resources that I can help with, you can contact me at tpickett@horrycountyschools.net. One of the things I try to do is when we do our professional development series in August, I like to call it, it's like the start of the holiday season before we start, and Christmas Day is the first day of school. So we build up and we train and we prepare all of our counselors, all of our RBHS counselors, that we train, we prepare, we get ready to start the school year. We look at what's trending now, what student struggles are, and if you have a resource that you think that we can benefit from, and I got time on the agenda for you, you give me a call and we'll work that out.
As I mentioned in the introduction, our nonprofit counseling agency has, I think, upwards or close to 30 master's level clinicians, some of which are in the internship phase. And one of the things that we thrive on, community partnerships and the opportunity to even speak on panels like this or provide educational psychoeducation in the community. We have often been contacted by various agencies or businesses to come and provide some education. And so just reaching out to the office, our wonderful administrators, is a great first step for getting a clinician to come and maybe give a presentation or what might be helpful.
Your flyer in the school for your type of services and for Shoreline so that parents know that you even exist.
As far as like in the schools, do we have? I don't know that we have. I know we do at the school that I'm at, which is Coastal High School, but as far as Horry County schools, I don't know. Actually, I think we do have a clinician that is a school counselor, but I'm not sure that we have any materials at the school, so that's a great
It just might
point.
be something for you guys to think about, so, because there's so many parents that just don't know that you exist.
Thank you.
What we do in the schools is work with parents and students individually, and when we find out that a student needs a resource for some type of therapeutic intervention outside of the schools, then we can make those suggestions. And we use Care Solace quite a bit to help refer, and that way, that service will work with parents on the type of clinician that they need, the type of service that they need in terms of accepting their insurance. So we kind of work with parents and students on an individual basis. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're a parent and you know, or you know someone who might need some therapeutic intervention outside of what we can offer at school, let us know and we'll help get you connected with the right resources.
No, y'all do mine. All right. So, yes, you can, for us at Little River Medical Center, you can contact our Director of Community Relations, which would be Catherine Lane. If you go to our website, you can send an email. You can also call our phone number, 843-663-8000. It's on our website. And you can, again, ask to speak to the Director of Community Relations. Another thing, and this is, I think, really helpful, and you could use it for any of your clinics. And I've had people do this. We've networked with Spokes of Hope. We've networked with a variety of other places and individuals. But that's just simply talking to your provider. It might be your therapist. It might be your doctor. It might be, who knows. And I've had people just say, hey, Dr. Reiser, can you guys use, during COVID, we got a ton of formula, which we badly needed, as well as diapers and other supplies to be able to help out their families. Would you like to collaborate on? And someone introduces something that they can offer, or they might ask us if they could, have access to some of our services, because the reality is all of us just want the community to do well. So yes, either the community relations person, the phone number, or anyone in person is fine, okay? And if you weren't sure what these people were that I said or how to access it, you could even just go to your local clinic and say, can I speak to somebody about how I can help out? And they would probably take your information down, get that number to the right person, you get a phone call a little bit later, okay?
As a forever educator, no longer in the school hall, but now in City Hall, I'm going to invite you to, on the table outside when you walk out to your far left, I put some brochures from Neighborhood Services and my business card there. What I'm finding that now is that many people who have known me from school, they often call asking for other resources. I guess still thinking I'm the guidance counselor, and I thank you. They trust me. Okay, and usually I'm pretty on it. I have a pretty good idea of who or where they need to go. But if not, it's always been the 24-hour rule. Give Miss Cookie 24 hours, unless it is an emergency, and we're going to deal with it right then. But the other thing is that as a member of the First in Service team with the City of Myrtle Beach, we have our previous city manager and our current is big on opportunities for volunteering, and now this new thing of breaking down silos. So I will tell you that schools want you to be involved. There are certain things you can do, there's certain things you cannot do, but they want you there. And everybody in this room, 18 and older, you graduated from high school and you can read. So volunteer with child development, primary and elementary school as a reading buddy. 30 minutes a week, and just lasting results. And then the last thing, as I've shared with you about Nana's Hope House, please go to the website, nanashopehouse.org, as well as the Facebook page. If you are aware of a high school student, junior, senior high school student, graduating student who is in need or is identified as McKinney Vento, that homeless student who's in shared housing or somewhere sleeping on somebody's floor or in the car or whatever, it doesn't have to be that way.
As far as volunteering with us, I think it's all of it. We all can agree that without the community effort and volunteers, we really wouldn't exist. That's kind of what the networking, we depend on one another for it. So you can actually go to our website, and I have some information on our table. You can call us. It's really easy, 898-5134. We're always looking for volunteers, and it's really easy just to give us a call, get it set up. We do a lunch and learn on the third Wednesday of every month, where you can come in and you can see what Sea Haven is all about. You can take a tour of the facility, and of course eat lunch, and we'd love to have you.
All right, I'd like to spend a few minutes to give anyone in the audience the opportunity, if they have any specific questions that they'd like to ask any of the panelists up here. We're going to open it up. Just raise your hand. I'll bring the mic to you.
Yeah, we gotta work the legs.
I couldn't see. Go right ahead.
I'm skeptical. I don't see anything different that's been tried since the beginning of the welfare state, you know? And it's always been a failure. And it doesn't seem to work. It's a lot of talk and it's a lot of forgiveness of bad behavior. So can you tell me any kind of proof that anything that any of your agencies have been doing has actually improved?
Sure. I'll give you a real basic example, okay? I got a young lady, grew up in a household that was difficult. She was a victim of sexual abuse. She has a lot of anxiety. She has parents and grandparents and partners of partners who habitually smoke marijuana all the darn time. Okay, she struggled through high school. She struggled with anxiety. This young lady had access to healthcare because of our sliding fee service. Okay, if she was unable to pay our fees, we would still see her. Now, some clinics that would not be the case. Some clinics, you can't pay the fee, go somewhere else. And that somewhere else tends to be the emergency department, which is absolutely not the environment to have any kind of chronic care services, okay? What was that?
I said we end up paying for it anyway.
You do, you pay a lot more than that, right? Because it's a $900 ER bill to triage you, decide that it's not really an emergency, the physician will see you anyhow. Anyhow, that's not the place to get your care. So moving forward, through working with our behavioral health team, through getting some social supports and access to things within the community, this young girl went on to graduate high school. She's now a young parent. She's actually doing okay. And that might not have been the case had she not had something to help her get out of that house that was crowded with 5, 6, 7 individuals who weren't doing much at all with their life. Or if she didn't have somebody, myself, her physician, that she felt comfortable talking to when she was having a tough time, and if she didn't have somebody to see her year after year after year, encouraging her to access our behavioral health services, while she said repeatedly, I can't talk to people. I can talk to you, Dr. Reiser, because I know you, but I can't talk to people. And so I do my best at psychotherapy, and I am not a counselor, but I know how to kind of motivate and support people. And then eventually she did start working with one of our therapists. And anyhow, she's doing okay. I think she's doing a lot better than she would have had we turned our backs on her. That's one of many examples.
I don't have any specific like statistics or pie charts for you. But I can say that I have pretty much lived in my school for the past 3 years, and I've seen the inner workings of all the amazing things that all these services have done, including our department. And I don't know what your perception is or what you've seen or what you're not seeing in the community, but just imagine if all of our services weren't up here doing what they do. It would be a completely different world. Our students wouldn't have anywhere to turn to. So I have to give these guys kudos. You guys all do an amazing job. I see your inner workings every day. And like I said, I don't know how to show you, but it's working. I'm telling you it's working. These kids have a safe space to go every single day.
Right now at Young Adult Services, we have 2 housing programs. So I have clients or young adults who last night they were sleeping in the woods, and tonight they have a roof over their heads and will for the next year. And not only do they have a roof over their heads, but we also help them gain employment, skills to have employment, to further their education, everything needed to be in that. I talk fast, I apologize. A young lady who we put in a house last week or a couple weeks ago. The community came together and put that entire apartment fully furnished, everything. And now she's working towards getting a job and getting employment so that when the time comes, she can pay the bills. But until then, she's successfully in a home and not on the streets. And that to me is success, not failure.
The thing I think everybody needs to understand, especially for people who are skeptics of support, skeptics of assisting other individuals without getting directly paid. Because, you know, I was paid nothing to come here tonight. I've got about an hour and a half more work to do. But I come out here today because I care about the community that I work in and that I live in.
Amen.
What we have to know, I think it's fitting because we're in a church, so, but irrespective of your religious beliefs, is that these are people, and people matter. She matters, kids matter, the elderly matter, people of all sorts, we matter. And we're gonna live, so we can live happy, productive, successful lives and grow to be people that positively influence one another. I'm not gonna share my personal story, but I didn't get here alone. And I appreciate the work of folks that kept me safe, that I could talk to when I needed to talk to somebody, that maybe helped out with some things that me and my family might have needed, you know? And honestly, anyone who thinks that everything from accessibility, access to these streets, to trash disposal, to the fire department that, you know, responds when a house is on fire, you know, it's a community. Whether you're paying taxes or not, we all need it, you know? And so anyhow, it's important for us to, they'll keep at the forefront of all that we do, that this is about people's lives, and they are incredibly important, and we, on this earth, really ought to be able to get the most out of it, you know? And it's not actually that much of an inconvenience for us to give folks a good quality of life, you know? And I'll spend an hour or two, you know, on something like this any day to help out.
And I would also like to say that I'm proud of what we do in Horry County Schools. I think we have one of the most robust and generous counseling services of any school district in this state, and maybe even around the country. I'm proud of what we can offer. And one thing I've learned from being in counseling for so long, and from my counseling mentors like Cookie Goins, is that behavior is communication. Student behavior is student communication, okay? So when they are misbehaving in school and unable to learn in class, they're communicating with us in some way. They're trying to get us to hear something or to understand something that they cannot verbalize. And I can tell you that our counseling services, whether it's our school counseling services that we staff very generously and very appropriately in all of our elementary, middle, and high schools, whether it is our RBHS program that, you know, our district is covering, so that there are some mental health services in our schools. We're not contracting out with agency for that. We're actually hiring clinicians who are top level clinicians, and many of them work in the private sector in our communities, or whether it's our covering a care coordination service, so that when we can't cover those students in our schools, we're able to help them obtain the resources that they need. No matter what it is, we've been able to keep students in school in spite of that communication that comes out as behavior. So maybe 10 years ago, without all of these services, they might have been taken up for expulsion. They might have dropped out of school. They might have not been successful in school. And I think us normalizing the need for mental health services overall makes a difference with student achievement. And we see that all the time.
It only takes one candle or one light to illuminate a dark room. So all of these efforts might be simple, and they might not address the systemic issues that are difficult and real, but they illuminate dark spaces. And I will do that every day.
I actually have a perfect example. sitting right here in this room of all the positive things that not only the school, the community, Sea Haven, Young Adult Services, and the Crisis Center. My daughter can speak on that behalf. She's represents, as a student, everything that we do up here, every organization, and by far successful because of it. I mean, she can tell you herself, the mental health, having someone to talk to, having trauma that, and she doesn't mind me sharing that, but having gone through some trauma herself and having that mental health, being able to talk to someone in the schools, developing a relationship and having the opportunity to tell her story, it helps her peers. It's peer relationships too.
So out of respect for time, I would like to give anyone else an opportunity to ask a question before we close for the evening. But I'm going to offer someone else an opportunity just before we run out of time, if anybody else would like to ask a question. There we go.
Hi, my name is Rosanna. I'm an art therapist at Good Vibes Therapy Center. I'm kind of new to the area, and I'm finding that we seem to be lacking some resources for teens and some like support groups. And I don't know if that might be something that's available that I don't know about. So like specific support groups. So like teens that might be victims of sexual abuse or domestic abuse or PTSD or depression, anxiety, etc.
Just to recap, you said you work with the midwives group?
Good Vibes Therapy Center.
Good Vibes Therapy, okay. And the question was, what services exist for?
Like youth support groups in general.
I'm just gonna speak on behalf of you. I know that our school, I don't know if they're specific, but I know that they run support groups all the time. I don't know the specific, you might be able to speak on that, but there are support groups. I just don't know how specific they get in categories.
And the ones in schools change based on the needs when we're able to run groups in schools. And I have to say this all the time. We can't provide in schools, there's no way we can provide everything that everybody needs all the time. Like, we can't provide every single solitary mental health service that everybody needs all the time, because then we would be a mental health facility and not a school system. So what we're trying to do is to fill in those gaps where we can in schools. And so the groups that they're able to run in schools change based on what the needs are. What I have done is, as the school counselor liaison, when I'm planning those professional development sessions, I try to reach out to community organizations to find out how I can get folks in to come in and talk to my counselors about what groups they have, like the Rape Crisis Center. Rape Crisis Center offers support groups for primary, I've learned some things, primary and secondary survivors. And so those students can come in and they serve all of Horry and all of Georgetown counties. Shoreline Behavioral Health offers some substance abuse groups that students can get involved in if they call and they request that. I also had Alateen. Y'all remember Alateen? Alateen is still out there, and they're still providing some groups. They came and spoke with my lead counselors in one of my lead counselor groups. So I try to reach out to the community to find out what's there before I start providing professional growth and development sessions for our counselors. And so, if somebody has some opportunities to share with me about groups, I'd love to hear them. But if you got them, you share them with me, I promise you I'll try to help get that information out in our schools.
Just a quick comment on that. Is there like maybe a way to get a resource list of events and things going on Horry County District website? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I pull them all together for my counselors to make sure that they have that information to give to parents and students. But I'll be happy to work with Chief Proc and share anything that I have so that all the participants here can see what I'm coming in contact with. And sometimes it causes me to dig a little bit and to find out what's in the community, but I'm okay doing it.
And so I just feel like I've been digging and not coming up with anything, so I wasn't sure if I was missing anything, like, and not specific to schools, like, like in the
And,
evening,
and
so
those,
we
and
can-
those organizations that I just mentioned, those three that I just mentioned off the top of my head, those are not specific to schools. I just got them in to talk to my counselors so that when they're having conversations with students and families in schools, that they can share that information with them. But those are just, community agencies that are providing, group services out in the community, and I just wanted them to know.
We have a Horry County resource guide. We have it available online, and you can also pick it up at the Chamber of Commerce. So we can get that out to you as well. If you signed in tonight, you will be on the distribution list.
All right, I got time for one new person.
One in the back.
Yep.
I just want to say thank you to each of you for what you do for this community and the kids and the people that live here. I think I probably speak for most people in this room that your services are making a difference in the lives of our children here. And, I know we're getting late on time, and I'll try and be quick, but I can tell just from the amount of time of you guys being up there that not a single one of you do this to harm somebody else. You guys are doing this to make suffering easier for people. You're doing it because you feel called to do it. And it is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
All right, well, I think if I'm not mistaken, there's still some Chick-fil-A probably out there. So I would like to thank all of the panelists for coming tonight and sharing your wisdom with all of us that are sitting in the room. It helped me tremendously. I have two children at home as well, a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my little girl's report card reflects exactly what you just said. So, Chief Brock, would you like to say anything?
I will. I just want to invite anybody who has not attended. We have the coordinated effort meets the third Thursday of every month here at Midtown Vineyard Church at 1:00. That's the third Thursday of every month at 1:00. And we work to not only do our night of knowledge, we also work to address the concerns of what we talked about today to try to fill the gaps that we need in our community, but also work together to be able to provide resources to those in need. So, and that's everybody in need, not just the youth that we talked about today, but that's everybody. We're just working together to try to make a difference in our community. So please join us if you can be there. If you can't be here, and you have somebody from your organization that can, please have them come. It would be a great addition to our team, and we would certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart as well. You did a fabulous job. Great. On the 18th, we have suicide prevention. That'll be coming out too. So that's coming out as well. Another night to remember.